Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We are actually going to unfold the literal cloth map of corporate strategy. We're taking those abstract, honestly, sometimes kind of dry business grids you might be familiar with, and we're turning them into a dynamic, living navigational journey. To do this, we'll be guided by two colleagues, Meera and Aarav. Picture them sitting on a quiet terrace. The air feels almost cartographic, like there's something just waiting to be charted out. They've got a packet of Jaggery dipped groundnuts, a printout of a business portfolio grid, and this beautiful folded cloth map, stitched with rivers, roads, and blank spaces. It's really the perfect setting to realize that mapping out a business isn't just about charting markets, It's about charting meaning. Okay, let's dive right into this. Right off the bat, Meera lays down this incredibly powerful concept on the terrace table. Strategy formulation is not just direction, she says, it is dialogue. I absolutely love this framing because it totally shifts our perspective. We so often think of corporate strategy as this top-down lecture, a rigid, inflexible path dictated by a boardroom. But framing it as a conversation, well, that means we have to listen first. We have to genuinely listen to our own internal strengths and weaknesses before we ever make a move out into the real world. So our journey begins with Section 1, the compass. And in the business world, our compass is the classic SWOT analysis. Now, what's really interesting here is how a publishing house used this exact compass. They were trying to decide whether or not to enter regional language markets. So, they mapped out their strength, massive editorial depth, their weakness, pretty limited translation capabilities, the opportunity, this huge rising demand for regional content, and the threat, those nimble digital-first competitors. By putting it all on the grid, they didn't just create a mirror reflecting what they already knew. They created a functional map to actually navigate a major business decision. And this brilliantly illustrates Aarav's realization. He brings up a cooperative dairy that wanted to launch a flavored milk line. Now they had a deeply trusted brand, a massive strength for sure. But their weakness? Weak cold chain logistics. Add to that the very real threat of multinational competitors. By mapping this out, the SWOT analysis actually helped them pace their ambition. It told them, hey, yes, you have a great brand, but you absolutely must fix your cold chain logistics before you try to sprint head-to-head with a multinational giant. Let's move on to Section 2, the direction. This is where we look at setting your overarching corporate strategy. Once your compass has given you your bearings, you've got to set your corporate direction. In strategy, this generally boils down to deciding between three paths: growth, stability, or retrenchment. Usually, when we hear growth, we just think bigger. Actually, scratch that, we almost always equate growth with sheer size, but Meera points out a textile firm that chose a totally different kind of growth, backward integration. They decided to set up their own dyeing unit rather than outsourcing it. So they didn't just expand their footprint outward, they deepened their operations inward, and that is a fundamentally different flavor of growth. So the crucial takeaway here is that we really need to reframe these traditional terms. Take stability. Oftentimes, stability is seen as stagnation, like if you aren't growing, you're dying, right? Well, no. A logistics company chose stability during an incredibly volatile year. They deliberately paused all expansion to focus entirely on service quality and internal training. In that specific context, stability wasn't stagnation, it was strength. It was literally fortifying the castle. We see this reframing happen again with honestly the most dreaded word in business, retrenchment. Aarav and Meera discuss a theater group that had to downsize and completely pause their touring. But instead of just giving up, they focused all the remaining resources on digital storytelling, and it completely revitalized their audience, proving that sometimes retrenchment isn't retreat at all. It's a very necessary renewal. Okay, on to Section 3, the terrain, mapping with portfolio grids. Having set our direction, we now need to map out the actual terrain of our product ecosystems. This helps us balance the risk, the rhythm, and the reach of everything we offer. Let's look at the famous BCG matrix. Look at how a regional food cooperative classified their offerings here. Their flavored milk is the star, high growth, high market share. Plain milk is the reliable cash cow funding the whole operation. Herbal drinks are the question mark, risky but with real potential. And packaged curd is the dog that just isn't performing. Meera makes a great point that this matrix wasn't just a clinical, heartless grid for this co-op. It was a powerful way to help them consciously nourish exactly what mattered in their ecosystem. Similarly, think back to that publishing house. They mapped experimental fiction as their question mark, funded by their cash cow of academic texts. Their outdated guides were the dogs. Aarav noted something super profound here. Using this grid wasn't about ruthlessly pruning a business. By identifying exactly where the experimental fiction sat, it was actually about planting for the future.
Beyond the BCG, we also have the GE matrix, pioneered by General Electric. It maps units based on market attractiveness and competitive strength. A textile firm used this to map their organic cotton line as a high priority, helping them prioritize their investments, ensuring they weren't just performing tasks blindly, but actually directing energy to the most attractive and strong parts of their business.
And here's the cool part. The GE framework can map way more than just products. Look at this logistics company mapping their service regions. Metro deliveries scored high on attractiveness. Rural routes scored low on market attractiveness, but, and this is a massive but, they recognized they had incredibly strong human relationships in those rural areas. By mapping this out, the company demonstrated that the GE framework wasn't just a sterile grid. It acted as a real guide for preserving human relationships and adjusting service levels thoughtfully.
Which brings us to Section 4, the journey, navigating the Ansoff matrix.
Let's transition from mapping the terrain to actually walking the path. If portfolio grids are the map, the Ansoff matrix is the actual physical journey of growth itself. A local bakery started with step 1, market penetration pricing, simply trying to sell more to their existing customers. Then they walked to step 2, product development, creating brand new gluten-free lines. Step 3, market development, taking those products into a completely new space by entering catering. And finally, step 4, diversification, launching entirely new baking classes. You can literally see the steps unfold in a beautiful, logical progression.
But as they trace this path, Aarav hits us with this absolutely fantastic quote. Growth wasn't just more, it was meaning. He brings up the cooperative dairy again. When they stepped into new territory using the Ansoff matrix, they didn't just pump out more milk. No way. They launched probiotic drinks, they entered public schools, and they started offering nutrition workshops. They proved that true corporate growth is about adding profound meaning to the community, not just volume to the balance sheet.
And that brings us to our final section, mapping meaning. Welcome to the Strategy Studio. As those jaggery-dipped groundnuts dwindle and the cloth map lays fully open between them, that quiet, simple terrace totally transforms into a profound strategy studio. And this is really the culmination of their conversation. Meera points out that formulation is presence, and Aarav realizes that portfolios are gardens. This powerful realization completely redefines business strategy. It takes it from rigid, sterile corporate planning and turns it into mindful, organic gardening. You have to tend to it, be present with it, and truly understand that it is alive.
So, as we look at the choices made by, say, the textile firm deepening its roots, or the bakery charting a journey step by step, it kind of challenges us, doesn't it? I want you to pause and reflect on the strategies governing your own work right now. What strategies are silently shaping your choices? Are they deliberate, or are they just habits?
And as you move forward, you really have to ask yourself this crucial question. Are we merely expanding for the sake of it, just trying to get bigger, or are we deepening our roots with grace? Think of that theater group focusing on digital renewal instead of retreating. That right there is balancing growth with grace. I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder long after this explainer wraps up. When you look at the map of your own projects, your own team, or even your own personal pursuits, what does your portfolio actually say about your priorities? Are you just filling out a grid, or are you truly mapping meaning? Thank you so much for exploring this cartography with me, and I highly encourage you to take these maps and start tending to your own garden.